Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste. Welcome to yet another session of Conversations on Consciousness. We have a very special guest with us today. Namaste, Hari Om, Swamini Brahmaprajnananda ji. Thank you so much for joining us. Before I start, I would like to chant and invoke the Almighty. Please join me for a prayer. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So today we have Swamini Brahmaprajnananda ji with us. I would like to give a very brief introduction to her before I get into the interview. Swamini ji has dedicated her life to serving the Vedic tradition by sharing teachings of Advaita Vedanta. A Hindu monk who currently lives in Mumbai, her teachings range from the depth and breadth of self-growth to self-discovery. She offers regular Vedanta courses online, the podcast, Vedanta, the River of Wisdom, insightful videos, workshops, and retreats in India and abroad. She is the author of You Matter, Insights from Vedanta. She is a direct disciple of Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji, having studied Vedanta, Sanskritam, Vedic chanting at Arsha Vidya Gurukulam in a residential intensive 3-year course in Coimbatore and Rishikesh. She studied part-time with Swami Brahmavidyananda ji for about 12 years. Her last leadership role was as the country head, India, of an international organization which positively impacted the lives of 150,000 street children. She was a former psychologist. Thank you so much for joining us, Swamini ji. We are very, very humbled by your presence. Thank you.
Thank you.
We usually begin our interviews with the question, could you please share with us your spiritual journey? What have been some events in your life that led you towards the path of Vedanta?
So I will share something from this lifetime. I do believe that the journey of life is essentially a spiritual journey. It may appear to be a journey of work, career, travel, marriage, children, and so on, but the heart that longs for fullness is at the heart of all our journeys. And so, if I have to think about some events I will share, I know in India we have just upgraded to 5G, but I will talk about 3Gs that have dominated my life. The first is my grandfather, Ajja, second is Guru, and third is Grace. So the first G, my grandfather. So this is around childhood. I was studying in a convent in Mumbai, very inspired by nuns and their life. Although a Hindu Brahmin by birth, I used to read the Bible and sincerely prayed to Jesus, convinced that my spiritual angst will come to an end only if I convert to Christianity. So at that time, for me, Hinduism was outdated and not logical. Then with this preteen rebellion and dismissive air, I shared my decision to convert. I was all of 11 or 12 with my Ajja, my grandfather. And he asked, why do you want to do this? So I said, oh, Hinduism is inferior and so on. And he listened very quietly. And he said, you can earn your right to criticize anything only when you have understood it. What do you understand about Hinduism? First you learn and then you wait until you are an adult to convert. So that seemed very, very logical to me. And my Ajja was a follower of Adi Shankaracharya. So he started sharing a lot of books and I was so inspired by Swami Vivekananda, J. Krishnamurti, Osho, lot of great sages, Swami Chinmayaji. And all this I read along with Nancy Drew, Hardy Boy, Sidney Sheldon, etc. But I do believe that Jesus saved me from Christianity. And so I figured that since I couldn't figure out God, let me figure out human beings. And then I ventured into psychology. Then the second G that has dominated my life has been gurus. So the first time I met Swami Brahmaprajnananda, it was at a workshop that was related to psychology. He appeared very wise. So I asked him if he was conducting Vedanta classes, and then he told me the address. So next day I landed up there. And the first Vedanta class I went to, and I was in my, I think, early 20s, I really felt like I had come home. And then I started attending a lot of classes along with work. Then I attended a camp by Puja Swami Dayananda in Anikatti. And I remember praying very fervently to Dakshinamurti in the temple. So please make it possible for me to study full time. This is what I want. I was so clear then. This is what I want. I will devote my whole life to this glorious tradition of Vedanta. And then it took almost 10 years after that camp for it to come true. And then, of course, thirdly, grace, Ishvara Anugraha has been there my whole life. I see as a big flow of blessing. A lot of lessons of being a sadhu I learned from street children, actually, about living in the present, being very tough, not worrying about what's going to happen in the future. So it was very, very fulfilling to contribute to street children's lives, which I did for a good 15 years as a part of one's career. And that, I would think, prepared me with sufficient adhikaritva. Of course, the people I've met, my parents, my brother, friends, relatives, so much has contributed, and I just see it as all the way lot of anugraha, lot of grace.
Wonderful, wonderful. And thank you so much for putting it so simply through the 3 Gs. This will really stick with me, definitely. And to the next question, could you please share the experiences you had while learning under the guidance of Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji? Who were the other acharyas who have been a constant source of inspiration and guidance for you?
I was in touch with Puja Swamiji since the year 2000. For me, he was Rishis, Devatas, and Adi Shankaracharya all rolled into one. So I have a confession. I cannot talk much about him because I get very moved. So we will see how we do because I so deeply love and revere him. So my time in the full-term residential course, it was really like being in Swarga. Because, one was at the Guru's feet, to listen to him every day, to touch his feet, to share things with him, to listen to how he unfolded the Shastra such that one cannot but see the reality. So direct, so immediate. So lot of blessing. Then let me share one of his responses to a question we had asked in Satsang. So this is a typical question that Vedanta students will ask. How does one know that one is understanding Vedanta well? He paused for some time, he looked around, and then he said, when you are growing in compassion. We were really taken aback by his reply. We thought he might refer to some Siddhi Granthas or Shankara Bhashya or Akhandakara Vritti. And he just simply said, when you are growing in compassion. And he always showed us the mirror of reality, absolute or Vyavaharika, Paramarthika, whatever. But of course, through all of it, Paramarthika Satyam is all there is. So his emphasis on the sadhana of Vedanta not being a theory or a practice, it is you. That really was a great teaching. Otherwise, it's very easy to make Vedanta into a bunch of concepts, or keep it little academic and away from oneself. Then another observation and learning also from Puja Swamiji was the way in which he interacted with everyone. So while in the ashram, any opportunity I would get, I would always run to his kutia. And there were a few of us like that. So he would receive all kinds of people, people asking for money, for medical help, loans, different pandits from temples, famous politicians, singers, dancers, staff, students, and everyone he met with great kindness. The meeting may have just been for a few minutes, but at that time, for him, that person was the most important to him. He was present 100%. And everyone felt that they were special to him. So his presence was really like this huge, big, loving embrace. And from time to time, he would look at us and then say something, and every moment with him was like a learning opportunity. And once he looked at us and he said, I always think about how best I can help this person, whoever came to him. And just all very, very profound. Then, of course, in terms of other acharyas, Swami Brahmaprajnananda, my initial guru, with whom I studied Vedanta part-time, in the sense that it was alongside career, not full-time. But Swami Brahmaprajnananda made a huge impact on me. Brilliant, amazing clarity on Vedanta, as well as other bodies of knowledge. Extremely fearless and very approachable and down to earth, very unlike swamis, like how Shukashtakam says, ko vidhi ko nishedaha. But he's such a free, unconditioned person. So no vidhi, no nisheda applies, in the life of freedom that he leads. And it is a blessing that I continue to work with him. And, we're building an ashram close to Mumbai. But I often joke with him, and I used to joke with Puja Swamiji that I'm sure I saved your life in some previous lifetime, because only that can explain all that you all have done for me in this lifetime. The gratitude is so much. Then besides these stalwarts, Swami Sakshat Kritanandji, he was the Acharya of our course, besides Puja Swamiji, and he has an amazing ability to summarize any text. It could be Adhyasa Bhashya, it could be an Upanishad, or it could be a chapter of the Gita. This summarizing ability was quite extraordinary. Also, his kindness for everyone and his Vak Tapas. I have rarely ever heard him say anything unnecessary. Whatever he said, it does not cause agitation. Much like how Bhagavan Krishna says in 17th chapter. So, Anudvegakaram Vakyam doesn't cause agitation. It is Satyam. It is always true. It is Priyam, very pleasant, and it is Hitam, necessary. And Swadhyaya also, he, even at 65, 70, he thinks about, okay, I have to memorize this particular text if I want to teach it, and so on. Then, of course, Swami Vishardaranji, who lives in Mysore, very quiet life, and great love for Shastra and great love for depth. So that is very inspiring. Then, Swami Vivekanandji, Ramana Maharshi, so many sadhus that one has learned from. And I have a lot of respect for all sadhus of different sampradayas. So one continues to learn from all of them. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Swamini ji. And when you were sharing about how Puja Swamiji brought teachings in a very relatable, simple way, I was really able to relate to how Swami Chinmayaji also brought it through his teachings and his quotes. It used to really go through the heart, and it touch the to the person really palpably.
Very
So,
true. Yeah, our Parama Guru. Namaskara to him.
Absolutely. So the next question, how do you see the teachings of Vedanta benefit the youth of today? What are ways in which these teachings could be introduced to them?
See, Vedanta is not for everyone. Vedanta is only for an adhikari. The one who has been there, done that, taken the selfie regarding career goals, relationship goals, travel goals, and still feels empty. So this emptiness and inadequacy is really because the person has taken oneself to be just a human being, subject to birth and death. So Vedanta is for those who have recognized the problem of human limitation and who seek self-knowledge. More than Vedanta, I think the youth of today and pretty much everyone across the world experience stress and conflict because Dharma is not the framework of their life. Either they were hurt or they hurt someone, there was himsa done, or they have unresolved issues from the past, ashaucham, or there is too much grasping and possessiveness, parigraha, or there is this weird idea of never being satisfied, no matter what you do in the name of ambition. So there is asantosha. So, all of this, which is kind of the opposite of niyama, for that, dharma is the way forward. And if one is centered on dharma, if that is the framework of one's life, then one can definitely have wealth, career, leisure, travel, whatever it is. And dharma is not a religious mandate as it is often presented. Centering on dharma means centering on the value of dharma. Like suppose I give you 100 rupees and I say, you please tear the 100 rupees, I will give you 2,000 rupees. Will you do it? No. I can argue, no, it's just paper. You're going to get many multiples of that same amount, but you just won't do it because that value of not destroying money is valuable to you. And so dharma is like that. If one has discovered the value for yama and niyama, so the value for shaucham, external, internal cleanliness, so psychological resolution, tapas, religious discipline, santosha, contentment, swadhyaya, at least some exposure to the scriptures and observing oneself, Ishvara pranidhanam, etc., then there is a greater chance of balance in career and relationships. And then also that, one can have tapas and also santosha. One can push one's boundaries sufficiently and also practice santosha, contentment for what one has. So I would think in terms of introducing Vedanta to the youth, the teaching of karma yoga is a very big blessing because it pretty much takes away all the stress. It helps the youth to identify roles and responsibilities. And generally, most young people, I know I was one of them, we were very unidimensional. Either one is obsessed with a romantic relationship or one is obsessed with work. And then to have some balance saying that, hey, you are related not only to these 2-3 things, but to your family and to the country and to your friends and to rishis and to devatas and to bhutas, neighbors, etc., then that big picture helps young people to then focus on what they can do in each of their relationships. Unfortunately, modern society, relationship means romantic only, but we are related. This all pancha mahasambandha we have. So youth can be helped with karma yoga, and especially in the recognition that one can only contribute to a situation through one's karma, not ever control it. Karmani eva adhikaraha, and help young people cultivate prasada buddhi, to understand the law of karma, and that the law of karma is not against you. Law of karma is pervaded by Bhagavan. So that, I think, developing the relationship with Bhagavan is something that really frees a person. I would believe that the young people will be a lot more happier and stress-free if they were to focus on their roles and responsibilities and embody Dharma in their interactions. Only then they are ready for the understanding of the Atma. Otherwise, Vedanta becomes an escape. And I've had to counsel many such people who swore that Vedanta is all that matters to them. And then one little inquiry, and we know that they are running away from relationships or the stress of their career.
Wonderfully put. And to reorient towards Dharma to be the essence of that particular phase of life is really important. Thank you so much for sharing that. What are some ways in which one can enrich relationships with others, and how do we deepen our engagement with the world around us?
Yeah, my students are very familiar with this exercise that I do with them, which is almost like a rites of passage, if they are my student. So I ask them to identify 3 to 4 relationships in their lives. Son or daughter, partner, husband or wife, parent, father, mother, work professional, friend, etc. Then I invite people to write their response to 4 questions. Okay, so let's say I take my relationship with my mother. So what am I giving my mother? What am I receiving from my mother? And I invite them to write in great detail. Then after that, I ask them to write, what more do I want to give my mother? And what more do I want to receive from my mother? Okay, I ask people to repeat this for at least 4 or 5 relationships. And now we have the material to work on, or rather the different situations where karma yoga will apply in one's life. It's very likely that most people will say that they want to perhaps give their mother more time or more understanding. Okay, generally young people will have this. And that's when I say, okay, now then this is the time for more kaushalam, which is an aspect of karma yoga, that how can you engineer your day or your week in a way that you are able to do more for your mother. Obviously, we are talking about dharmically based actions. Likewise, if one is receiving a lot of care from the mother or any other relationship, but would like to receive more, or is receiving too much advice, doesn't want, again, there is scope for kaushala. Or if the mother has a habit of complaining, then one of course can say what is one feels and help perhaps, but also recognizing that the mother can't do any better, that's her background, and so there is a lot of scope for samatvam, for a gracious acceptance of the mother or whichever relationship in one's life. So then this helps to deepen relationships, because we find that as we relate to different people in our lives, there is a dynamic balance that has to be upheld, and dharma has to be upheld. So with karma yoga, which of course is a disposition of combining kaushalam and samatvam, competence in dharma-based actions, along with gracious acceptance, then one learns to relax. One finds that relationships become a lot more harmonious. And then as a karma yogi, I am doing this because I am a bhakta. I am a devotee. I am someone who is connected to Ishvara first and is connected to Ishvara last. So then as a devotee, son or mother, daughter, when I relate to my mother, then I want to offer the best to her because it's my offering to Ishvara and my mother happens to be that manifestation. Even if I have a very annoying boss, then I will say, okay, but this annoying boss is also some sort of prasada that has come to me through my actions only. Therefore, what can I do to be effective in this role? And likewise, different people's interactions with me, I receive as prasada, just like we receive prasada in the temple, graciously, cheerfully. So, recognizing that all laws of karma are infused with Bhagavan keeps me as a devotee and deepens my interactions. Additionally, loneliness, hurt, isolation, they keep building up if we are self-obsessed. I know what I'm saying is kind of controversial, but often it is about what I think, I feel, I want, what I think others should do. It's all about I. And so when this ahankara is insecure, then any little thing can make me upset. So this Mahavakya of Vedanta is Tattvamasi, that Ishvara you are. And so an inquiry into this Vakya naturally leads me into deepening a relationship with Ishvara. So then, because of Viveka also in my life, suppose some little exposure is there, then I am very clear about what work can give me and what work cannot give me. Work can give me a decent salary, maybe a good team, maybe some maximizing my potential regarding particular skill and knowledge, a decent work environment, work culture. That's it. It cannot give me moksha. Same thing with partner. When one applies Viveka, one sees that it's great to have a partner and one can take on this Jiva Yatra together, but the Jiva Yatra is really from avidya to vidya. So partner cannot make me happy at all times, in all places, in all situations. So then you free the person from the burden of unrealistic expectations, or rather the expectation of moksha that one had placed on that person. And that allows one to be free in interactions and deepens the connection with people. So I don't think Vedanta actually isolates people. If it is learned properly with a guru, in fact, it only deepens relationships. Yeah.
Wonderfully put. Thank you so much, Swamini ji. Could you please share what are the potential powers of stotras and chants in the Hindu tradition? Why has it been given a high significance in sadhana?
Yeah. See, the Vedas are revealed knowledge by Ishvara to the rishis. So they are Bhagavad Vachanam. That itself makes it very sacred and very powerful. Of course, the sound of any akshara is unique. It has its own impact. When we look at Karma Kanda, which has different chants and rituals, mantras, just imagine chanting mantras and performing certain rituals can help produce a child, can help produce rain, ensure success in all ventures, become a king, Ashwamedha Yaga, go to Swarga. So these are phenomenally powerful. Then additionally, Jnana Kanda or the Upanishads reveal that you are Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman, that limitless being. So Veda as a means of knowledge is very, very powerful. Now, a mantra is really related to the deity. I'm talking about the mantras that we chant. Of course, there are lots of mantras in the Veda. Now, the mantra that one chants generally is the sound symbol of that deity. So just like if I want to talk to you, I will say Shri Hari. Now, when I say Shri Hari, I am invoking your entire presence. You are available to me. All your qualities and whatever you wish to maybe give me, or however you want to relate to me, you are fully available. So a mantra, let's say Om Namah Shivaya, I am inviting Shiva, right? And then however I choose to relate to Shiva, so that is the blessing of Shiva or any other deity. So mantras are very, very potent and powerful, primarily being Bhagavad Vachanam, words of Bhagwan himself revealed. And so we don't approach it casually at all. Now, from the standpoint of Vedanta, the sadhya or the goal is you, the limitless being. And that limitless being is not a matter of karma. One cannot put limited into limited, which will make one limitless. That's not possible. So then the limitless being that is you is a matter of knowing. That is the sadhya. Then what is the sadhana for this sadhya? It is Shravanam. So listening to the Shastra systematically with a guru over a period of time. This is assuming that Adhikaritvam is there, Viveka Vairagya, Samadhi Shatka Sampatti, etc. All that is there. Now, an important aspect of that is Shraddha. So trust in the Veda. How will the trust come? When you see the benefit of mantras. So therefore, japa sadhana becomes very important. Even if one is not initiated into a mantra, we have so many stotrams. But then still, for Shravanam, I need to have a mind that is mastered, yuktaha, mastered mind I need. Because we all know what we listen and the story we make up after that, or we are selective in our listening. And this is just in a normal conversation. Then in such a subtle subject matter of Vedanta, we are bound to make many mistakes. So the Mahavakya being Tattvamasi, how do I relate to Tat? Why would I even care about Tat? Tat Pada Ishvara. So relating to Ishvara, we have so many stotrams. And for every mood and emotion, there are stotrams. So, Bhavani Ashtakam. So, na janami danam, na cha dhyana yogam, gatisvam tvameka Bhavani. So and this is a wonderful stotram of helplessness and surrender. Like, I don't know what Danam is. I don't know what Tantra is. I don't know what Stotram is. I don't know what Mantra is. I don't know what Puja is. But Bhavani, you are my refuge. Okay, so this Stotram is a very helpful one, especially if one is in that situation where you don't know much, but you are seeking to surrender. Or if one wants to get some freedom from obstacles, right? Or success in pursuit. So, Pranamya Shirasa Devam Gauri Putram Vinayakam Bhakta Vasam Svare Nityam Ayu Kamartha Siddhaye. Today is Tuesday, so I thought special Ganpati. Okay, so now for the one Kamartha Siddhaye, for the one who wants, whatever Kama you have, what to do? Pranamya Shirasa Devam. To whom? Oh, Gauri Putra. So this is the son of Gauri, who is Vinayakam. And the one who always lives in the heart of the Bhakta. So just hearing one shloka is enough to touch a person. So again, those kind of stotras are available. Or the stotram of declaration of who one is. So Shivoham, Shivoham. So Manobodhya Hankara Chittani Naham Nacha Shrotra Jiphe Nacha Prana Netre Nacha Vyoma Bhumir Natejo Navayu Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, Shivoham. Chidananda Shivoham Shivoham. So we see the range of stotrams that is available for us to relate to Ishvara. Right? And because there are so many kinds of bhaktas, there are the bhaktas who are in distress, and then the bhaktas who want, kama, artha, and so on. Then there are the jignasu bhaktas who want to know Ishvara, and then there, of course, are the jnani bhaktas. So, stotras are very important part of sadhana, because what it helps me do is see that Jagat is Ishvara. The world initially, for most of us, is an obstacle. I have to deal with the world, or the world is a misery, etc., etc. Then stotrams help me to appreciate that Jagat is Ishvara, and then all manifestation is Ishvara. Then I am able to go into the inquiry. So Atma Darshanam is possible.
Wonderful. I mean, to put it this way, and to appreciate the whole approach to change the association with the world, as you rightly put it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Swami. Could you please elucidate on the Antahkarana? What composes the Antahkarana? How can one regulate the functioning of the various components?
Yeah, so the beauty about the Vedic tradition is that the word for the mind is Antakarana, inner instrument. The word itself is very revealing. So body is Bahya Karana, external instrument. So Karana means an instrument to get things done. Karta, the doer, is the one who uses both the instruments, Antakarana, Bahya Karana, to get things done. Now, Antakarana is fourfold. It is born of the Sattva Amsha, of the Pancha Mahabhutas, the 5 great elements. And rather than call them components, I think a better word is functions, 4 functions. Okay, so one is the manas. We translate it loosely as the mind, but manas is sankalpa vikalpatmakaha. So, I feel like doing this, I want to do this, some desire, some emotion. Okay, so that aspect of Antakarana is manas, which is always changing. Then buddhi, loosely translated as intellect. So nishchayatmika, very definite decision. Should I eat aloo paratha today or idli dosa? So decision taken. Okay, buddhi has come into play. So we call it definite knowledge. Chittam, loosely translated as memory. So recollection of any incident along with the data. And then the 4th aspect of the Antakarana is the Ahankara. I avoid using the word ego because it has some Freudian connotation. So Ahankara is Ahankara only, or we can translate it as self-concept. It is not pride, as is translated in many Indian regional languages. So I, the self-concept, the one who holds it all together, aham karoti iti ahankaraha. The one who identifies with the manas, the buddhi, the chittam, and so on. So really speaking, it is I, the limitless Atma, but identified with all of this, recognizes or thinks I am limited. All these 4 different names, they don't mean 4 entities, just indicating a different function of the same inner instrument, Antakarana. All of these are blessings. So we see how this interplay happens between them. Yeah. And then you were asking about how one regulates. Yes, that's right. So now we go to the definition of yoga according to Patanjali. Okay, why regulate? Because we have to be clear, why should we regulate the mind? So yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. Mastery of the mind is yoga. What for? To commit a murder? No. Tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. To abide in one's nature. So mastery of the mind is really for the purpose of self-discovery. Now, If that is my framework, then the way I regulate the mind depends on the nature of the pursuit I am involved in. Let's say I am not into Vedanta. Okay, I give you an example. Suppose I am very afraid of speaking in public. Okay. And it's related to being humiliated in front of the whole class in childhood when I recited some poem in school. So that time people laughed, they made fun of me. So now my thinking is, it is Nishchayatmika, definite thinking. I am not going to speak in public because if I say something wrong, people will laugh at me. People should not laugh at me. So now my ahankara, self-concept, is controlled by the fear of embarrassment, stemming from the memory of a past event and the conclusion that I just have to open my mouth and people will laugh. You know, I am definite about it, although I have developed a lot of skills and all. So here we see how ahankara is tossed about in the way in which it relates to the manas and the chittam, and holds on to ideas that may or may not be related to reality. So now, because mastery of our mind is the goal, and that also looks like antakarna shuddhi and antakarna naischalyam, so purity of the mind, steadiness of the mind, then bringing in karma yoga into one's life, performing my dharma in relationships, practicing generosity, doing some tapas, some religious disciplines, japa. They are all wonderful ways of mastering the mind, or antakarna shuddhi. Because with this, my mind is fully available for any pursuit, including Vedanta. And therefore, I'm not distracted or disturbed or dissociated. You know, and because of karma yoga buddhi, then there is a natural cheerfulness and a natural happiness in life. Because whatever, so in the same context, I will say, okay, I still have fear. I don't know what people are going to say. But if I'm applying karma yoga buddhi, I will say, okay, these are the laws of karma. I have something valuable to say. I offer my karma to Ishvara. If people have to laugh, they will. It is also possible. They may find what I say of value. I go ahead and speak. Karmani eva adhikara. So here, I have only mastery over what I say. Other people's reactions, I can never control. I don't even want to go there because it's a losing battle. So therefore, then what I have done now with this Karma Yoga Buddhi, in this very small situation, I have pushed my boundaries and I can review the conclusion I had made that I cannot speak in public. That conclusion is no longer valid after I have spoken in public, and whatever has been the reaction. So this is a very simple example of how karma yoga can be hugely transformational as we keep applying it to different aspects of our lives.
Wonderful. So could we say it is because of this, in the Ashtanga Yoga, Yama niyama comes and then comes the other subtler aspects? Could this be the reason?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I really wish that more people recognize the importance of Yama niyama in their life. So much of stress would go out of their lives. Life would become so harmonious if there was little more Yama and niyama in people's lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. So you have a strong background in clinical psychology, Swamiji. So, and you have worked a long time in the field. Could you expand on psychology as seen through the Vedantic lens?
Psychology, or particularly Western psychology, like any discipline of knowledge, is a product of its time, and it is born of the Western culture. So the different therapeutic models, they were reductionistic. Yeah, so there was, if there is emphasis on unconscious and defense mechanisms related to Freud, other frameworks which emphasize cognition, Ellis and Beck, or there another framework which emphasizes behavior, Skinner, and so on. Then in recent times, body work, somatic work are the newer frameworks. So now these different models of psychology, they do have their use and validity, but we must recognize historically it evolved out of a separation of the church and the state, as a result of which values and God were thrown out of the picture. So I have written a paper on this and also presented it in an Indian psychology conference, that Indian psychology is incomplete without Ishvara and Dharma. And that's what I find. In modern psychology, these are missing. And so psychology as a growing discipline cannot be fully effective if it excludes these two. Because again, being a product of its times, and this is not a criticism, it's just an observation, the overemphasis on individuality. What I think, what I feel, what I desire, what I want, what I need, etc., etc. Nobody talks about what my responsibilities are. And so I have come across so many people who have been through years of therapy, but because Ishvara is missing, Dharma framework is missing, it's a universal problem of the heart longing for something that is noble, that is sublime. The heart actually longs for God but doesn't know it. The heart longs for a reassurance of something that is eternal. So it's really a starting point for a seeker. Now, that's the framework with which we look at psychology from the standpoint of Vedanta. So psychology teaches us that our thoughts and feelings are real, and hence we have to work towards psychological well-being. Vedanta will start from there, that once you have psychological well-being, you are much more than your thoughts and feelings, you are more than your mind. In fact, you are aware of all that is happening in your mind. In psychology, one is always a WIP, WIP, work in progress. So there is never a time that the work on yourself is done. It can be very exhausting. Some beliefs have to be changed and some emotions have to be managed, behavior, etc., has to be changed. But Vedanta is teaching us that you, the limitless being, cannot be improved upon. So yes, from the standpoint of adhikaritvam, there might be some scope to change and all, but that one is not flawed as a human being. And that is so liberating for a person. And then psychology, of course, aims for self-actualization, which really means like maximizing our happy experiences and preparing to die well. But there is no therapy for death. Okay, so, but Vedanta teaches us that you were never born, you're never going to die. So the different psychological paradigms, they rest on the assumption that the individual is separate and isolated from the total. At best, one can aim for connection, but the existential angst remains. And so, like Pujya Swamiji said brilliantly, in psychology, there is no solution. In Vedanta, there is no problem.
Lovely, beautiful, very beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing Swamiji's quote as well. To sum it up in a very short capsule, to my next question, what are vasanas? How does one become aware of these? Are these vasanas functional or dysfunctional?
A better word for vasanas is samskaras. Yeah, samskaras, which are sensory impressions that are born of repetitive thinking or repetitive actions. So how does one become aware of it? You have to ask people what are, it might be a list of their favorite things. What kind of books do you like? What do you do in your free time? What kind of people you like? So it will indicate some ragas that may be there, either this lifetime or from previous lifetimes. Rather than use the framework of functional or dysfunctional, I would like to use the framework of Dharma to look at samskaras. So, for example, if one has a strong samskara for singing, and if it is something that you and other people enjoy, and you are not torturing them with your voice, you are not doing himsa, then it is a good samskara to have. No problem. But when the samskara becomes so over-consuming that it causes you pain, it causes other people pain, then one, again through Karma Yoga Buddhi, offers it to Ishvara, prays for grace, and focuses on the larger picture of where one is headed in life. You know, it's like, which I do often, what I do often, okay? So, you know, like this, like, what do you see? So, what do you see? Let me ask you.
Well, I see a blank page with lines.
Fantastic.
And a spot. Okay, there's a spot in the middle, right?
That's right.
Right.
There's a small, yeah. Okay, you have very good eyesight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are some people who will say that they see the dot. Right? They miss the paper. They miss the lines. And really, you know, to me, samskaras or vasanas, they are like these few dots in our lives. If we get too obsessed about dealing with them, we are going to miss the landscape of our life, all that is wonderful, all the good samskaras that are there in us in terms of embodying dharma and so on, you know, all that is sattvic about us. So I would rather that, you know, we shift attention to all that is good about us, perform our duties, responsibilities, and in time, the effect of the samskara wears off. It's like, you know, different pathways in the forest. So if you stop walking on some pathways after some time, it will just, you know, there will be shrubs and all growing. Right. You don't have to entertain the samskara that doesn't help us, you know. And then overall, Bhagwan teaches us, you know, nistre gunyo bhava. So be free from all the gunas, you know, recognize the play of samskaras, recognize the play of gunas in your life, sattva, rajas, tamas, and rise above it by seeing that you are free from the play of the gunas. So you are free from the identity of karta, bhokta, and so on.
Wonderful. That the imagery of the path will really help, I think, because a lot of times we only add to the patterns, and when we are aware and when we are able to step back, I think we naturally move towards the better parts of ourselves.
Yeah, and also, you know, currently a lot of neurological research supports this, that there is we can create new pathways, just like we would create pathways in a forest. And the more you start walking on those pathways by repetition of thinking, repetition of actions, repetition of habits, then what seemed to be a problem, you know, earlier habits that were not serving me or earlier ways of thinking, then in time they just recede into the background. But if sometimes what happens is we get so obsessed with what is not working in one's life that you want to attack it from all sides. And in that process, one becomes obsessed with it. One starts to define oneself by, oh, that I cannot handle. But you know, you can handle 95% of your life. Just focus on that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And could we say that is why we have so much importance attached to achara, the way we conduct our life, the basic conduct as such?
Because, you know, for a wise or otherwise person, dharma is the framework.
Right.
That is something that is non-negotiable. And achara means it is centered on dharma only. Absolutely. Right?
Yeah. Wonderful. And the last question for this interview: what is the importance of satsang in the path of seeking? And could you share some of your personal experiences, how satsang has benefited you in your path of seeking?
Yeah, so different people explains satsang differently, right? Satsang is being in the presence of Sat, reality. So the way I understand satsang is that, it's a question and answer session with the guru, right? Now, I also know that in some organizations, satsang means singing bhajans or going for talks or being with like-minded seekers. And I'm guessing that that's where you're coming from, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So there is this wonderful Subhashitam which talks about learning. Acharyat padamadatte padam shishya swamedhaya sa brahmacharibhyaha padam padam kala kramena cha. So if one has to look at the way we learn, then there are 4 quarters in learning. So 1/4, one learns from the acharya. 1/4 of one's learning comes from the acharya. Then 1/4 of the learning comes from swamedhaya, from one's own intelligence and memory and processing of the learning. Then another 1/4 comes from sah brahmacharibhyaha, along with the people you are learning,
Right.
Whatever is a pursuit. And then the last 1/4 is kala kramena, the passage of time, because things take time to fructify. So when I was learning in Mumbai, attending 2-3 classes a week, then there were 2 people, Kamini and Manisha. Both of them were very close to my mother's age. And although I was the youngest in class, I was in my early 20s, mid-20s, they were very welcoming towards me. And we used to discuss a lot of different topics, because what happens is, when one starts studying Vedanta, then meeting other friends who don't have an interest in Vedanta becomes a bit challenging. Like, this subject matter is so dear to you, but you can't discuss this with anyone else. And so to have them and a few others also was very, very integral to one's learning. Then, of course, in the ashram, with my batchmates, my guru behens and guru bhais, so there, amongst many, a few were Swami Aptananda, then Jonas Mazzetti, very dear friend of mine, who is an acharya in Brazil, Julie Carpenter, lives in the US. So amongst many others, we would enjoy debating, discussing, refining one's thinking, and pulling each other's leg on different matters and so on. So interacting, discussing with fellow students is a very integral part of learning. And even now, when I have online classes, I ensure that we have breakout rooms so that people can discuss whatever is the topic, or if I present some questions for reflection, then it really helps.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the interview, Swamini ji. It was such an enriching experience for me, and wish to have you more often on our platform, Indika Moksha. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Lots of prayers. Oh.